I believe all the listeners are the Java users there, right?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So in this session, I will talk something very simple. Okay, and I'll just tell you how to get started with the JDK and how to build OpenJDK or how to contribute to OpenJDK. You can ask me any question in the Java periphery. So it can be technical or it can be non-technical or it can be process oriented. There is no problem at all. Yeah. So yeah. So we will discuss about how to get started with OpenJDK development. And my name is Vaibhav Chaudhary, and I work for Java Platforms team. I'm working before I was in the part of Sun Microsystem, which Oracle have acquired it. Okay, so currently I'm working in the JVM technology. Okay, and you can see some of my blogs that I write on this website. Yeah. Okay. So this is a typical safe harbor statement that comes from the Oracle, which say that don't do any business decision by just listening to this presentation. Okay. So that's all about this slide. Okay. So today we will discuss about some of the introduction of JDK and OpenJDK, and then what is OpenJDK and how to build OpenJDK, which is very easy. I will probably show you some of the code bases of OpenJDK, which may be interesting to you. Okay. And then in the last, I can show you what kind of contribution can be done in OpenJDK and how those contributions get rewarded. Okay. So, yeah. Anytime you will not able to hear me, please let me know.
Yeah, sure.
So this is a sample of JDK history. JDK exists into 1995, and it became one of the best language till 1997, and it has okay. And the Java we use from the Java Smart Card till the high-end server. Okay, and what we claim is that we are platform independent. Okay. And this claim, it can be wrong sometimes, but 99.9% of the time we are platform independent. Okay. Talking of OpenJDK, 2006, Sun Microsystem has decided to move the JDK to OpenJDK. And 2007, we did that. We moved on to the OpenJDK. So I was part of the Sun Microsystem at that time. And 2010, Oracle acquired Sun, and the Oracle also adopted the OpenJDK. Okay. And now OpenJDK repository is available, and most of the JDK code are available in OpenJDK, other than I think some of the test codes which we are working very aggressively. And in the next release cycle, probably the JDK and the OpenJDK will look almost similar. Okay. So. Okay, I don't know how good interactive session we can have because of this internet connectivity and all. But anyone can guess the reason why JDK became or why Java became so popular in early 2000s?
Platform dependency and the website actually. Dynamic web applications.
Mm-hmm.
And platform independence.
Web applications.
Yeah, platform independence is what people are saying.
Okay, platform independence was one thing, but that was not one thing which made Java very cool at that time. Okay, there was something else that came new to Java, and it was not available in other languages like C++. Any guesses now?
Yeah, that bytecode in the JVM and what is it?
Platform.
So
okay, bytecode. Bytecode leads to platform independence. Okay, so bytecode was actually not a cool thing, because if you know Java was a damn slow language at the early stage, right?
Yes, yeah. In fact, it was very bad.
And most of the Java competitors say that why someone can use such a slow language. So do you know there is a feature in Java called garbage collector?
Yes.
Yes. So in the end of the 90s, or even in the starting of 2000 time frame, people who were writing big application in C++, they are really pissed off with something called memory management, right? So because they have to do all the memory management by themselves, even being a not so fast language, they decided to move on Java. Okay. And then they started adopting the usage of Java and started writing codes in Java, and it became a popular language at that time. Okay. And slowly other features also they started exploring, like what you said, platform independency, because at that time what people used to do, they used to write a code for one operating system, and then there will be a porting team, right? So if you have done with Linux, you will port into the Mac, and then you will port into the Solaris, and you will port into the Windows and a lot of other platforms, right? So because of those features, it existed, and it existed from it is doing good from last 22 years, and today we have so many languages. Actually, on the JVM, we have more than 35 languages that is written today. Okay, and people are using it, and people are enjoying it, because most of the languages are getting much better performance on this JVM rather than their native performance. Okay, because of the optimizations and de-optimizations and a lot of things which we do, and overall it's doing good. Okay. So I am moving to next slide. This slide is just theoretical and more about the motivational slides. Okay. Right. So what is OpenJDK? OpenJDK is nothing. It's just an open source version of Java, and it's a collaborative place where everyone can contribute to Java, even if they are not internal to Oracle, or they are not working in Java platforms team. And you believe or not, today we have a great contribution in Java world from the outside. Okay. Do you know some of the contributions in Java platforms which are not actually written by the Oracle people? Have you heard of some of the things, like any JEPs or something like that?
Apache Commons probably is a library, so I don't think it's part of the JDK.
Yes. No, it's not part of JDK. I am talking you the features that are currently existing in Java and not written by the Oracle guys. Okay. I mean, Oracle can be the facilitator in that, but they have not actually started the project. Okay. So I'll tell you some of the cool features that you must.
So I think IBM and Red Hat must be one of the core contributors, but we don't really know what JCPs they've contributed to.
Type safety is something there. Type safety.
All right. So okay, yeah. Correct. So on the contribution side, actually, you are telling correct. There are some companies, and Red Hat, and they are a big contributor. But you know, there are few contributors which are the standalone contributors, or which are person contribution or the university contribution. And you have seen I have written a JSR 166 in this slide. You know what is JSR 166? JSR 166 is one of the most coolest thing that is written in Java, and you may have knowing the concurrency APIs, right?
Yes.
Have any one of you have used concurrency APIs?
Yes, we have used concurrency.
Right. And if you have used the old way of writing the synchronized and thread locking and unlocking, you can actually appreciate the concurrency API, right? And the complete concurrency package has been written under JSR 166 by leading the team of person called Dudley, right? So Dudley is a professor in New York University, and he has led this project, and I believe they have done a fantastic job. Okay, the complete concurrency API is very robust and very strong, and it has been extended to a great level. Okay, so they are the one who actually initiated the thing like streams and parallel streams and lambdas. Okay, and today these are few areas in Java which actually Java are proud of. Okay, and all these areas the contribution comes from the outside. Okay, in JDK 8 you may have heard of the Joda time API, right?
Yes.
So Java, the old time APIs which we used to use, right? Java.util.date. That was a complete crap stuff, right? So now we moved on to the Joda time API. Joda time API is again a contribution from the outside, right? So the fact is that there are a lot of contributions that come from the outside, and what I have seen that those contributions are very robust, very stable, and very helpful for the Java to survive in the future. Okay. And most of the decisions are community-driven decisions, and most of the processes are community-driven process. So these process here, what you will see is that very similar. Even if you will go to the Linux community and if you will try to contribute in the Linux community, you will find the processes very similar. Okay. And today the OpenJDK supports a lot of operating systems and 2-3 new architecture last week for the JDK 9. Okay, if you just go to the downloads page of java.oracle.com, or you will go to java.openjdk.net, you can see all the listed platforms. Okay, so again, this is something which is very important for us to know, that there is a very good community contribution in OpenJDK. And if I will just share you some of the story of JDK 9. So JDK 9, what we did is that we have something called early access release. Early access release means before the JDK 9 will ready, we will give it to the customers and we will tell the customers that go ahead and give it a try, that how it is. And you know, most of our open source contributors like Apache, okay, Apache Lucent and Apache Spark, they have started trying JDK 9, and they were writing like we were providing them the build today, and tomorrow or day after tomorrow they will just come with the idea that this is not working in Jigsaw and this is not working in Jigsaw and nothing is working actually. Okay, and they started filing bugs like up and down, and then it actually improved our process a lot. Okay, and there were few builds in between, like at the build 162, it was like the build was completely broken. Okay, but our tests were not so strong that we were able to find that the build is broken for some of the system. Okay, and they have came and contributed in terms of the bugs. And then, of course, we have done a lot of work to get it fixed, but the overall thing has improved the process. Okay. So going to the building OpenJDK, have any one of you have built OpenJDK before?
No, no one in the room has built it before.
I got it delivered with.
No one has in the room has built it. So what I'll do is that one second, let me just connect to my VPN, and if the call get dropped, I'll just connect it back. So I will just, I cannot show you the complete build, but I can show you that. Oops. Mm-hmm. I'm still on the call?
Yes, you are.
Okay, thank you. So, and you can see my terminal, right?
Yes, you can.
You can see my terminal.
Yes, yes, it's visible.
Okay, it's visible. So I'm inside OpenJDK folder. Okay, and I'll just clean this folder. So there is nothing great that we have to do. I am just going to do a HG clone for the repository. Okay, so this will bring the required folder structure. Okay, and just showing you the repository somewhere. Oh, no. Yes, so you can see in the OpenJDK we have various repositories. Like you can see, we have a client repository, we have a dev repository, we have a hotspot repository, and then we have a JDK9 repository. Okay, and then we have a lot of sandbox repository. So these repositories are not of much use for you, but the development happens in the dev repository, which we have just cloned right now. Okay, and the thing goes into the development repository, and from there the release team actually moves the thing into JDK9 repository. Okay. So what I did is that I have cloned the JDK9 source. Okay. So this will just take the base structure. So what I will go into the dev folder, and there is something called get source, right? So I will just do a run for the get source, and we are good enough actually. Okay, so this command will pull out all the source repositories. So you can see we have like Corba, JAXB, LangTools, JDK, and that I will show you anyway in the next slide. Okay, so what it will do, it will bring all the sources that are required, and then the next command we'll see. Okay. So what we have done is it's the clone, and then you run the get source, and then there is something called configure. You just run the configure. Configure will check that all dependencies are resolved on your machine or not. Okay. So if some dependency will not be resolved, it will just tell you that this need to be installed, or you just run this wget command or whatever it is. Okay. And then the last is make all. So that will make the JDK binary. So any one of you can guess that what kind of dependency OpenJDK build should have?
Perhaps it should have dependency on the platform on which it is getting built.
Yes. So now on the platform, what dependency? What thing? Say like I am building it on say Windows. Okay. So right now I am on Unix, and I am giving a presentation on Mac. So say I am on Windows and I am building OpenJDK on Windows. So what things should be required? Can any one of you guess?
C++ library, some DLL, Win32. File name, I don't know. Some DLL files are there. Yeah, DLL and C++ libraries.
So the response is DLL and some C++ libraries related to the Windows platform.
Right. Correct. And yes, so these are the few good guesses actually. Right. So Java, you know that we have 30% of the code written in C++ and around 70% of the code written in Java. That is the whole JDK structure comes out. So that 30% of the C++ stuff need a C compiler, right? Yes. So in the Windows, we need Visual Studio to build OpenJDK. Okay, because we take the Visual Studio as C compiler for Windows. So corresponding to that, what we should use on the Linux side? So which is the C compiler on the Linux?
The GCC?
Yes, 100%. So on the Linux side, we have a dependency on GCC compiler. Okay, like that only. Java do its own rendering. So there is a dependency on fonts. Okay, like T2K fonts, true fonts, and all. So these are few dependencies which the build will get resolved. Okay, so it has pulled all the changes. And now you can see the folders like Corba, JaxB, JDK, Nason, and Hotspot, right? So these are the new folders that came into picture. Now what you have to do, there should be something called configure. So this configure is actually trying to check that all the dependencies are available or not. And if some dependency will not be there, like X11 library, right? So it will tell you that the life is very easy on Linux. It will tell you the exact command which you have to copy paste, you have to run. Okay. And if you are on the Windows, it will tell you that you need to install this. So Windows is always a little tougher job, right? As you know that building things on Windows are a little tougher.
We all agree.
And yes, so we generally don't care actually. If this is done, then you don't have to do anything. Okay, I just have to say make all, and it will start building the platform. Okay, so it will start compiling all the source. You can see now it's compiling a source. So this will go for a little longer, almost like 40 minutes, and finally it will build a folder called JDK build, and it will put your the same structure like bin, and inside the bin it will put Java, JavaC, and all those things which are required, right? So you have seen actually this is a piece of cake, okay, and that's why to cover building OpenJDK, I told building OpenJDK is nothing more than 2 minutes of work, okay.
I have a question here.
And you can go ahead whatever you want, and yes, please.
So the Java build, right? Whatever you said, so it will only build the binaries. It will not build the library associated library files, the jar files, the class, and everything. Where do we get those from?
It will build all the jars. It will build jars. It will build all the executable files like Java, JavaC, all the tools files also it will build. Okay. It will, on the JDK 8 and the lower, it will build your rt.jar and all the required jars. On JDK 9, it will build according to the Jigsaw new modular system. It will build everything. Okay. So the only thing it will not build is something called install, because installation is again a third-party dependency. Okay. So on Windows, you need to do some more work to get the installer. And fortunately, on the other machines, we don't need installer. Okay, so we can go ahead without installer. Though some of the codes related to the plugin and browser will not work without doing the proper installation, right? Because they actually read from the registry, and you need to write in the registry the Java home. Okay. 1 second. So that's it. So we are done, and all the dependencies which are not available, actually, they will prompt for you, and you just install the dependency. That's it. It is as simple as that. Okay. Good enough?
Yes.
Now I want to cover a bit of engineering part. Okay, and here you can have the technical discussion whatever you want. Okay. And I want to show you that OpenJDK code base, okay, how the OpenJDK looks like. And how it looks like is, it looks like this. So we are inside the dev. I believe you can see my browser, right?
Yes, we can.
Okay, so there are few folders like JaxWS and Nason and Corba and Hotspot and JaxP. Okay, so I'm not going to talk about Corba because no one talks about Corba now. And same I think I will do with the JaxP and JaxWS, which is basically the XML package for web services, right? So the interesting things for us is JDK, and the second interesting thing us for is Hotspot. Okay, so if you will go inside the JDK, you can see source bundle, and inside the source bundle, you can see. I believe you can see my screen, right?
Yes, we are able to see your screen.
Right. So you can see all the source bundles are totally changed. If you will go on to the 8, you will probably feel the completely different source bundle. Okay. Because this is the module structure of JDK 9. So everything is a module here. Okay. So the first and the foremost important module is java.base. Okay. And all the other things are relying into their module, that like you will have a logger module, you have a management module, you have HTTP module, and so I will be interesting to show you Java base. Okay, and inside all modules you will always get a folder structure like this. So there will be a share folder which will have a huge part of the code, and then you will have operating system dependent codes. Okay, so like Linux and Mac and Solaris and Windows. Okay, and Unix also is there. So okay, sorry. Yeah. So can you think of the code that goes to the platform as specific things? Any idea?
Should
share? Nothing but share. Right?
Yeah, the response is share.
DLL files, SH files, or something. SO files for.
Response is share. Share. We will put the shared code, which is shared across all the platform, right? Now there is some part of the code which need to go separately. Okay, like I can give you the hint. So if say like you are working on look and feel, right? So look and feel is different on different platforms. Like Mac operating system has a Aqua look and feel, and Unix have a Motive look and feel, and Windows have a Windows look and feel, right? So what we do that we segregate these parts, these kind of logic in the different folders. Okay, so Mac operating system will handle its own part, and Windows will handle its own part, and Linux will handle its own part. Okay, and then there are a lot of operating system level calls that also segregate, right? Like if the focus changes that happens on the Windows, right? That's totally different on different operating system. How the focus honor and how the focus moves when you are pressing tab or when you are pressing something else, right? So few logics which are platform dependent. Okay, and that's why we need to create some platform dependent folders which understand that which platform I have to select and what I have to build. Okay, but a huge amount of code will be lying in the share. Okay, and you can see there is a folder like Java, and there is a folder. So you can see this is your class 1 folders, right? The Java util package, Java IO package, Java lang package. Okay, time package, security package, net math. Okay, so you know the most of the important code is lying in Java util and Java lang package, right? So if you will go inside these folders, you can see a huge amount of codes that will be lying here and there, and all the comparators, collections, and whatnot, right? So I will leave this for you to explore more, and better I will explain you little tougher part of the code, which can be what? Which can be hotspot, according to me, because most of you will not have explored the hotspot code, right? So any guesses that what all are the parts in the hotspot?
Maybe Git compile.
Garbage collection.
Git also. That's one.
Very good. Then
Git.
Yeah, and the garbage collection.
Garbage collection, yes. Git kind of.
Yeah, the response.
someone told JIT. Is it?
Yeah, someone said JIT
JIT compiler. Very good. Garbage.
and garbage collector.
They have said right. So the hotspot have almost 100% native code. Okay, so the codes are written in C, C++. And as you said, the first part is actually something called OOPS. OOPS is called ordinary object pointer. Okay, so ordinary object pointer is the Java version of the C++ class. Okay, so that is one part. The second part is garbage collector, and inside garbage collector you will have a lot of garbage collector, like you have parallel garbage collector, CMS. Right now we are on G1, so every folder you can see there. And then someone said JIT, so JIT is also very correct. And JIT, you know, JIT is a runtime compiler, right? So actually, we can talk about the whole JIT and whole garbage collector in different meetings. If you want, I can talk about it because this is the area where I work. But if I'll tell you in the brief, then JIT compiler have two runtime compilers. One is called C1 compiler and one is called C2 compiler. Any one of you have heard about C1 and C2 compiler?
No.
Okay. Then I think it will be great that we will discuss it sometime. Okay. In the brief, I can tell you that what is JIT? First of all, we need to understand what is JIT. So anyone know that what is JIT? Okay, I will explain you briefly about all of these things. So now I am where I am in hotspot source share VM. Okay, and you can see some of the interesting folders here for you. So someone told me garbage collector. So you can see there is a folder called GC, right? And if I do ls in this, what you can see? So you can see, am I still audible?
Yes, you are audible.
Yes.
Hello?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm audible. You can see the folder inside the garbage collector, right?
Right.
And you must have know these folders: CMS, G1, parallel garbage collector, serial garbage collector is an ancient time garbage collector which is getting carried from 1995. Okay, and then some of the shared code. Okay, going back. Okay, so what you said JIT is actually the breakup of there is something called C1. You can see a folder called C1, and then you can see there will be a folder called runtime somewhere. Yes, you can see there is a folder called runtime, right? So these C1 and C2 compiler, then you have language. Then I told you there is a folder called OOPS. This is called ordinary object pointer. Okay. Then there is a folder called Opto. This is very important folder. This is the folder which says about the runtime optimization. Okay. And then we have a lot of new folders coming like AOT. AOT is actually ahead of time compilation. You must have heard that in newer version of JDK, we are coming with something called ahead of time compilation. So I can go a little bit detail into this if you guys are interested. Else what I'll do is that I'll come back to the slide.
Highly interesting. Yes.
Anything which you want to know here, please let me know, else I'll come back to this slide.
I want to know garbage collection.
Yeah, so the audience is interested in exploring these folders in a little more detail.
Okay, so okay, I will tell you very brief, okay, because we have some 10-15 minutes. I will tell you in very brief, and I can have a presentation on all these folders for 2 hours, so I can send you the link. Okay, so someone told that I am interested in garbage collection. Garbage collection, in a very simple term, I can tell you it is automated memory management. Like we told, Java survived because of garbage collection. The garbage collector which we are currently using is called concurrent mark and sweep. That is called CMS collection. And JDK 9 came with some garbage collection called G1 compiler, G1 GC, that is called garbage first collector. Okay, so in basic, what I can tell you, I can tell you how the garbage collector works. So garbage collector, the initial ideology for the garbage collector to work is like okay, I can draw somewhere in my laptop. Let me see if there is some drawing or something. Okay, I have the slides here. So what I can do is that I can add an empty slide. Please let me know if my slides are visible or not.
Visible.
Okay, excellent. So the old concept of the garbage collector was that this is your object, okay, and the old concept was very simple. They were telling whatever is your object, what you do, you put something called reference count. Okay, so you can so you can have some reference count for every object. Okay, and what you do is that reference count means how many people are referring to you, right? So if this guy is getting reference from this guy, what will happen? This reference count value will become 1, right? And if this guy is not getting referenced by anything, it will become 0. Okay. So if the reference count is 0, that means that you are eligible for the garbage collector, and if reference count is 1 or non-zero, or things can refer to this object. Yeah, right? Multiple things can refer to this object here. So then right now the right now the reference count is 3 here, right? So if the reference count is 0, you are eligible to be garbage collected, right? So this is the logic that came. So do you think that this logic is good enough?
Not sufficient.
Yeah, if like all the objects in the heap are non-zero, then at one point of time there will be no garbage collection happening, and like the whatever heap would become full at one point.
That means there is no dead object, right? So there is no garbage collection.
Correct.
Yes. If the reference count is not 0, that one, right? And if the object is getting pointed from someone, that means it is not ready to get garbaged. Okay. So can you think of a scenario where the reference count is not 0, reference count is still 1 or 2 or 3, and still it can be a garbage collection? Can you think of a scenario?
So maybe the root is having a reference count of 0, but all other objects subsequent to root have a reference count. And for some reason, the root is not garbage collected. So the entire subgraph cannot be garbage collected just because the root has a reference count of 0 and it's not getting GC.
Right. So, Rohit, is it you?
Sorry, it's me.
Who is talking?
Rohit.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So what you said is very close to the fact. Okay. Now I will show you the flaw in this algorithm. Okay. And here I have already drawn the flaw. So very soon you are going to see, you can see this picture on my machine, right?
Yeah. Yes.
So the root is pointing to this object. This guy is 1. One guy is pointing to this guy. This guy is 1. One guy is pointing to this guy. So this guy is 1. And one guy and 2 guys pointing to this guy. So this is 2. Is that counting correct?
Yes.
This counts and stands good, right?
Yes.
Okay. Now, my root link got broken. Okay. So I have no one who is pointing to the first object. Now let me look at the counts again. And do you think this count is correct?
Yes.
Yes.
So you have a bunch of stuff which is just lying and the complete thing is a garbage, right?
Right.
Yeah.
That's true. Because of the cyclic reference, actually, the logic of doing a reference count logic is not correct. Okay. And fortunately or not fortunately, Java supports cyclic references. Okay. So if there is a cyclic references like this and your head is broken, this is not null actually, this is head. Sorry. Okay. So this logic don't work. Okay. So because of this, we came up with a different logic that is called mark and sweep logic. Okay. And mark and sweep logic is actually completely different from this reference counting logic. It says that don't count the dead objects, rather than you have to count the live objects, and whatever is objects are not live are called dead objects. Okay. So as the name suggests, it is called mark and sweep. In the first go, what we do, we mark the object. Okay. We mark the live objects. Okay. And for marking the live object, there is a root concept. I will not go into the detail, but just understand that we mark the live objects, and in the second scan, actually we delete, or we reclaim, not delete, we reclaim all the objects which are not actually marked. Okay. That's a very high overhead process than this, but that process which we do called mark and sweeping is a foolproof algorithm. Okay. And when we do the marking and sweeping concurrently, that is called CMS, that is called concurrent mark and sweep. Okay. So the problem is that CMS performs very good. Okay. But we started seeing a very big pause time with the CMS. Generally when CMS goes for a full GC. So full GC, okay. So before telling you full GC, do you have the concept of young space and old space?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Rohit, what I will do is that another class, we can discuss it into full. Yeah.
Absolutely. 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 I think we can do one more session where we will discuss these concepts in detail. They're very interesting and everyone is pretty engrossed. So
Yes, I will tell you that if I tell you half of the concept, conceptually it will be wrong. Okay.
Okay. So let's do one thing. Let's continue with your slide deck and
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, let's continue with your slide deck and probably in the next Java user group meeting. We cannot wait to have you. So subsequent meeting will have one more detailed session on garbage collection.
Right. So just think of a detailed session of the garbage collector and think of a detailed session of JIT compiler. Okay, because JIT compiler is also very interesting, and most of the people don't know about how it works. And I can assure you that if what you are writing today. Okay. And even I can tell you all the new languages that are coming, like you must have seen languages like Scala and Kotlin, right? They precisely know how the JIT compiler works, and they have developed their language on basis of that. Okay. So they take actually 100% leverage from the JIT compiler. I will explain you how they do, but this is how it works. Okay. So this whole folder structure is very interesting. This whole folder structure of the hotspot is very interesting to discuss. We'll discuss sometimes else. Okay. So right now, let me go to back. Right. So there is something called Lang tools, and Lang tool is responsible for all the tools that we make. Okay. So there are a lot of compiler tools, right? You have used probably something like JStack. Okay. And there are a lot of JavaDoc tools, right? Like creating JavaDoc. And then we came with something called JSL. Any one of you have heard of JSL?
Yes. Is it the REPL?
Yes, it's a REPL. So it's just just like a command line Java running. Okay. So if someone who have not seen JSL, okay, then probably I will not cover in detail, but I will just show you that hopefully it should be not broken on my machine, because I break a lot of things up and down. Yes. So anyone who have not seen the JSL, and if you are seeing my window, you can see I am in the JSL command. And what will happen if I write 2 plus 3? So I don't have to write public static void main class, and then in that class 2 plus 3, and then print 2 plus 3, right? So I can write anything here. I can write class, I can write object O equal to new string, right? And then it has created, I can do whatever I want, right? A string S equal to ABC, and then S dot char at say 0, right? So you can see, right? I can write whole of the Java code with JSON. This is very good for the students, and it's very good for the people who actually try to understand the Java application fast, right? And what will happen if I do this? Any idea?
Divide by 0. Exception.
Divided by 0 is arithmetic exception, right? You cannot do divided by 0. That's true. Okay, so good. So that is what this jdk.jsl folder is there, and it is available in JDK 9 build. The JDApps is again something related to Jigsaw, how the dependency module it do. Okay. So what I did you that I have explained you hotspot, and I have explained you a bit of JDK. JDK will have all the public APIs which is visible to you, right? It will have the concurrency, it will have IO and IO, it will have everything that you use in Java. Okay. Logger APIs, SQL APIs, this API, that API. Lang tool folder will have the languages, kind of tools you use. You use Java tool, you use Java C, you use Java doc, you use JStack, a lot of tools, right? Whatever you use. Nason is a folder that is dealing with the scripting language. Okay. In JDK 7, it came from the JDK 7 onwards. Everyone forgot Korba, JaxP just forget, JaxWS just forget. Okay. If you guys use Korba or JaxP or JaxWS, you can tell me, I can explain you in detail in some of the other classes. But the main folders are JDK, Hotspot, Lang tools, and some of the tools are Nason. And for someone who want to contribute, you can very well see that inside every folder there is a folder called test folder, right? And this is a very, very important folder for someone who want to contribute, because test folder, we have tests written for each and every APIs. Okay. And we have tried to write the best test, whatever we can write. And for any development, what you can do is that you can see the test APIs, right? I just want to know that what are the things that is provided for me in the string buffer. So I have this much of the test case that I have written for the string buffer. Okay, like how it trims. So there is a huge copyright, and then you can see that it will tell you that what kind of things I am checking for the trimming of the test case. Okay. And not only the JDK development means you can only contribute to the JDK source, but you can be a very well contributor to the JDK test. And you know, the JDK test is also considered to be a JDK contribution. Okay. So in the next slide, I will show you that what kind of the recognition that we have for the JDK contribution. And in that, the test also, the /src and the /test both comes into the contribution. Okay. So that will probably lead to my next slide. No. What is this? how everything went off. Just 1 second, hold on. I think something I have deleted or yes, we are back. Sorry for that. So the contributors can have all these things for the OpenJDK. If you are doing any of the two significant contribution in OpenJDK, that can be a bug fix in the test source, or that can be a bug fix into the code source. Okay, but it should be a significant contribution. It cannot be a contribution like some of the spell check. You will just correct it out. Okay, then you can become something called OpenJDK author. Okay. And after author, you will have the rights to generate your own source diff, and you should upload into the repository where people can see you. So before that, if you want to do the contribution level, that is the author level, you have to give your source diff to someone else, and someone else will upload that to the place where everyone see that. Okay. After you will become author, you can generate your own source diff repo and you can upload it. And what will happen that slowly you will do more commits, and after 8 significant contribution, you will be promoted to something called OpenJDK committer. Okay. So OpenJDK committer is actually a big post. Actually, I should not say it's a big post. I should say it's a big honor. Okay, so because very few people are actually OpenJDK committer, and that needs 8 significant contributions from you. Okay, and till committer. Okay, no, not till committer, till author. You need to remember that 2 significant contributions should be in the same area. Okay, so if you are contributing something to Java Lang, and if you are contributing something to say like Swing or AWT, then you are not considered to be 2 significant contributor, because you have to contribute in the same area. So probably you have to do 2 bug fixing in the Lang only, or 2 test fixing, or writing the new test in the Lang. Okay, after you become the author, the committer status you can do in the complete repository. So whatever you do change in the JDK repository, all will be counted as your contribution for committer. Okay, and then becoming a reviewer. Reviewer means someone who can review your code. Okay, and it's not like the normal company jobs where all the reviewers say that everything is fine. Here the reviewer are much on the higher level. Okay, they should review, they should explain in your code or what can be optimized in your code, and you will become a reviewer only when you will do 32 significant contributions. Okay, so you can see the difference between a committer and the reviewer, right? So 32 significant contribution, if you do in say JDK 9, you will become a reviewer of JDK. You can just say that, okay, your code looks good, you can go and check in the code, and he can do that. But if you are not a reviewer, and still if you are providing a review feedback, he has to wait for a reviewer to come and tell that. Okay, just by saying he cannot go and check in the code. Okay, so I have given a link where you can read about this all things like author, committer, reviewer. And what happens that this all things work with something called lazy consequences. So in the lazy consensus, what we do is that if no one is vetoing you, means say that I have nominated you for the committer, that okay, this guy have done 8 contributions and he is doing great job. Okay, he should be moved to committer. Now, if no one is coming and telling that, no, this guy is just a shit, okay, I cannot let him become a committer, then only you will not be a committer. If everyone is silent, then it means you are a committer. Okay. So we go in a different fashion where we say that people are lazy and they will not say, yes, he is a very good. So if he's not, they are not saying no, that means he is very good. Okay. So I think you got the idea, right? How to get the different ranks in the OpenJDK. Okay.
Vaibhav, we all are dreaming here.
Now, Rohit. you all are dreaming. I can tell you that if you are writing a good Java application, then you can be a Java author just in 1 month. Okay, because I have seen that with the recent development of Java, actually, the things are that we are creating a lot of bugs. Okay, and from the next year, you are not doing recording, right? Or
We
you
are.
are doing so?
We are.
Okay, then I will not sing. Okay, leave it. Okay. So the fact is that we are going into more. We are going into more agile development of Java itself. Okay, so we are trying to reduce the release model and all those things. Okay, and in that, what happens that we end up leaving more bugs, and more bugs means you can be a great contributor to OpenJDK, right?
Awesome. That's an
So,
opportunity for all of us.
Yes. So this is it, Rohit. I don't have anything else to cover here. Okay, I have. Since it was too much of theoretical talk, okay, which generally Deepu used to give, okay, because he is from the theory background and he works in the community process, so he talks on these things very well. But I am from the technical background, so if you want to know anything from the technology side, probably you can ask me question, or if it will take time, probably we can make it sometime else. Yeah, so you are all free to ask any question, whatever you want to ask.
Yeah, sure. We have some questions here. So, okay. So, what are some cool upcoming JSRs where we can take a look at, and which has been actively developed at this point? So, is it the Java 9, or has Java 10 work already started, where we can get involved right from its inception and look at a slightly longer horizon?
Right, that's a very good question. So Java 9 is code freeze now, okay, and we are doing the public release on 21st September 2017. Okay, Java 10 work has been started, and you should see some of the works that are going in Java 10. And I will not say that it's going in Java 10 or not, but it can go. Okay, so like you should see a project called Project Valhalla. I think I have written wrong spelling. Yeah. So any one of you have heard about Project Valhalla?
No, we haven't.
Okay, so Project Valhalla is one of the coolest features that we are going to develop in. I cannot promise you 10 or 11 or 12 or 13. Okay, what Project Valhalla is doing that right now, if you are creating right now you are creating a, say, array, object array, or any of the instance array, right? What it do is that all the elements of the array actually goes in different location in the memory. Okay, it don't go into the contiguous memory, because every object because for every object you have a equals and you have a hash code, and you can compare the object with other objects, right? So I can say probably, let me get back here. I think it's visible. I'm creating, say, string s equal to new string of, say, 10 objects, right? I don't know. I need to check out the way I'm writing. Now you know that string. Sorry. So when you write S0 and when you write S1, do you know that these are not the contiguous memory locations?
Mostly no.
These are not on the contiguous memory locations. Okay. Because why these are not contiguous memory locations? Because S0 have its own identity in Java, and S1 have its own identity in Java, right? I can say S0 double equals to S1. Is that true?
Sorry, say it again.
I can say S0 double equals to S1, right? Or I can say S0 dot equals S1, right now.
Dot equals.
Because all these objects have its own identity. And if I'll put into the contiguous memory allocation, okay, I cannot identify the identity because I am in a Java world, so I cannot move my addresses. You got my point, right? So if this is on the 1000 address, and if this is on 1002 address, okay, it's actually one string is very high address in address. So let me put this on 1030, and this is say 1060. Okay, these are the address I have put. Okay, now you cannot move to the next address in Java. Okay, so these are not actually the contiguous array. Just like the primitive, like you are creating a primitive int. If you are creating a primitive int, okay, like you are creating this is a contiguous memory, the int one. But for the objects, it's not contiguous. And you know the problem for this, for every object, there is a very big overhead. We have to create a header, we have to create a lot of things. And the second thing is because this is not contiguously in the memory, we have a very high cache miss. Okay, because generally after S0, what I need S1. After S1, I need S2. But I need to actually find where is S1 lying in the memory, right? So I cannot cache my S array. Okay, so Project Valhalla is coming with the concept where we are trying to create the contiguous memory allocations for the object also. Okay, where the object can be put into the contiguous memory object allocations. But what will happen with this? The thing that will happen with this, that I cannot write something like equals, or I cannot synchronize on that object, or I have to actually lose the identity of that object. Okay, so we are coming with something called value. Okay, and when you will write value string s equal to new string 10, what will happen is that this s will become like a primitive type. It will no more be a object type. Okay, you can do all the work like an object, but it will behave in the memory allocation like a primitive. Okay, so anyway, I will send you the slides if you are interested on Valhalla by Mark Reinhold, who is the architect of JDK9, and he has explained in the great detail. Okay, so no worries. The same thing you will have here, the JDK10 you can see here, right? So JDK10, you can see all the things that are going on and what are the targeting. And slowly you can see all the JEPs that are coming here in the different areas. Okay, and you can see there are a lot of new projects like Jigsaw, Kona, Kula. Okay, now Rohit, the question that has been asked is that how to contribute. Is that true?
Yes, we want to know what are some of the cool JSRs, and we are looking at buying some time so that we can look at Java 10. Java 9 is already frozen, right?
Okay, yes. So there are a lot of things there. Okay, so you can see all the JSRs that are currently available and currently getting worked. That is part number one. The part number two is that there is a program called Adopt a JSR. You may have heard of.
Yes.
You are the JUG lead from the Hyderabad.
Yes.
Okay, then you must have heard this from some of the JET member, right? That is something called Adopt a JSR.
Yes.
Right? So Adopt a JSR is either a JSR that is raised by you, or either a JSR that has been created by someone else, and you can tell that my JUG group want to adopt this complete JSR, and we will do all the work on this JSR. Okay, it works good if the JSR is also designed or thought by you. Okay, because probably some of the important JSRs or some of the important in terms of the deliverable JSR, they will not give you. Okay, so you can think of some of the cool features that this need to be in the Java, and these days thinking feature is not tough, because if you are multilingual and you are working on 5-6 different languages, okay, not multilingual by talking, it's well, and you work on 5-6 languages, you can definitely find out some feature which is existing in some language and which is not existing in Java, right? And you know, if that feature is cool, everyone will welcome you to write. Okay. And I personally believe this is where the world is going on, right? So Java is adopting the features of JavaScript, and JavaScript is adopting the features of Java, and all the languages are trying to provide the best of their features. Okay. So what I will do, Rohit, is that I will send you the list of the JSRs that are currently active, and you can look into some of the JSRs, and then as an individual or as a Jug group, you can say that I want to work on this JSR. Okay. Before that, there is a mailing list also for all the areas. Okay, so all these areas which are on the left hand side, you can see, right? So someone who told me about the garbage collector, you should see Serendon. Serendon is a new garbage collector that is coming probably in the next Java release, and this goes by something called ultra low pause time, right? You can see. So this is also getting developed. Okay, so if you want to contribute something and you are not clear about the area that where I can contribute, but you know what is your interest, you can ask me, or you can ask some of us. We can definitely tell you the project according to your area of interest, that what are the currently active projects or the JSRs. Okay, and then you can join the mailing list. You can see the mailing list, right, for that project, and then slowly you can start your contribution. Okay.
So
and before that, you can also see the existing test cases that are written. Just 1 second, right? So you can just see the existing test cases that are written. Some of the test cases are not that great high quality. Okay. You can improve those test cases also. You can write your own new test cases, which you can claim that you have not covered in this test case, and I can provide you a better coverage than this. Okay. And I am 100% sure that OpenJDK community will welcome those steps.
Got it. So I have a follow-up question. In your first 2 slides, you indicated that the concurrency API was built by a New York University professor, and it suddenly struck a chord. So we all come from different backgrounds. Some of us maybe have masters in computer engineering. Some of us maybe not that much academically inclined, but from DevOps. Some of them are more practitioners where they just work on Spring and Hibernate. So you'll see a nice mix of people around here. So to cater to all these people, I wanted to understand, so let me be selfish. What are some contributions that are academic in nature within the OpenJDK that are targeted for JDK 10? So I personally feel that when a university professor is able to do a concurrency API and do a very neat implementation, definitely there is a lot of theory that went behind, before he started writing that code. So is there anything which is pretty computer science inclined and targeted for Java 10?
What goes in Java 10 is that probably I cannot discuss that into the OpenJDK community, but what I can tell you is that the Java goes with the independent development module. Okay, so if you understand me correctly, that you are seeing all the projects that are on the left hand side, right? These projects are the projects which are getting developed, and you cannot integrate these projects by saying that this should go into JDK 10 or JDK 11. Okay, because the development of some of the projects are going from last 10 years, last 12 years, last 13 years. Okay, and depends upon the level of maturity that project itself have. Okay, it depends that it can be integrated in JDK or not. Okay, so thinking of that what will come in JDK 10. Okay, let's not go into that way. Let's go into this way, that I want to propose a solution for these projects which are available in OpenJDK. And these projects today or tomorrow need to get a placeholder in the JDK. Okay, like most of these projects which you are seeing on the left hand side, right? Some of these projects, like I told you, Project Valhalla, these are utter complicated and almost almost done. Okay. So from the contribution side, I can say that you can start contributing in any of these projects. Okay. Or if you want JDK 10 to be contributed, you are seeing there is a project called JDK 10, right? So what you have to do, you have to take JDK 10, you have to do a HG clone, HG get source, HG config. The source code will come, you build the source code, you say, okay, JDK 10 is working on my machine now. Let me check it out. What is going to JDK 10? Okay, that you take it from me. Okay, and then you go from all the JEPs or the JSRs that is going. You follow them and then you say that, okay, I want to contribute in this. Okay, and then I will say the best way to start contributing is by fixing a bug. Okay. Because, you know, in all this open world, till you will not make a credibility, till people will not understand that who you are, they are not going to give you one. Okay. So today I will just go and tell that, hey man, guys, look, I want to write a cool feature here. Okay. So what will happen that people will laugh on me. Okay. They will tell, first tell me who are you. Okay. And if I will make a credibility by becoming JDK author, Open JDK committer, Open JDK reviewer, or say like even author and committer, okay? And then people know me in the Open JDK community that, okay, this guy is the guy who is the Open JDK committer. Okay, he is proposing something, sounds like good, okay, because he has worked into the JDK project. He is capable enough to propose something, okay? So this is how it goes, okay? Right. In the meantime, we can ask the JUG leads, okay, who are like the global leads and who runs the project like Adopt a JSR, and we can ask them that what are the available JSRs for us to adopt, or do you want us to create a JSR and send it for the review.
Got it.
Yes.
Got it.
Yep.
Yeah. Are there any other questions? Yeah.
Vaibhav, I'm doing some study on this garbage collection. So I have a few queries. Maybe you could make a robust discussion. So how can I send you an email or contact you?
I'll share the email.
Okay.
Yeah.
You can send me an email. Okay, my email ID is what is my email ID?
It's on your blog.
I dropped into the chat, and my email ID you can get. Okay, so this is my email ID, and you can anytime drop me a mail. Okay. And if you have some of the difficulties in the garbage collector or some of the difficulties at the understanding point of view, I will definitely try to help you.
One question.
Yeah.
So actually, you're talking about that.
We discussed. Just 1 second. We discussed a lot of garbage collector things. Okay, you know, and last month I got a guy from Flipkart. Okay, so he started telling me that I work in Flipkart. I told it's great. So he told me that, you know, my application paused for like 5 minutes. Then I told that's too huge, man. Your application should not pause for 5 minutes. So how much is your heap space? So he started telling my heap space is like 1 terabyte. Okay. Then can you help me out? I told I don't have any 1 terabyte heap space in my office machine. Okay. So if you can send me a machine from Flipkart to my Oracle office, probably I can help you. Okay. So the thing is that we are very limited with the resource, and sometimes we're not able to help some people who are actually knowing more than us on these things. Okay. But if something will be wrong in some area, we will definitely, by seeing the log, can identify what's wrong thing.
We have one more
question. Please go ahead. There was some question that was coming.
This is actually.
Yeah, please.
it's not for contribution. It's something to learn on Java. So see, you said Joda time API, right? But when you see the history of Java, like there are a lot of API bugs and the Java time and date. And finally, in Java 8, you said you means whatever Sun Oracle. Okay, don't use Java time now. You migrate to the Java.time. Think Java.lang.time.
Right.
Right. So my question is now two things. One is the datetime API, and there is logger. So what you suggest is something you need to consider as a fresher, a Java fresher, or maybe experienced way, because a lot of times like the Spring framework, something frameworks, right? They give their own packages, whether it's Apache Commons. So when you see in the real time, so I'm not a contributor to Java. I'm an application developer. I'm supposed to adapt to something from the framework because Java is not, something not good to use directly from the Java API. So here my question one line is, what areas of Java land at time and the logger things I should concentrate to learn, so that I may be anything. I may be using framework future, some Spring or something else. But as a Java developer, I want to focus on certain points in time and the logger areas. Time package, whatever, java.lang.time. Is it clear? Or did I confuse you?
Yes. I think your question is subjective to what application you use. Okay.
Yes,
and which areas of the application you use very often. Like you said, very often. Okay, just java.time very often. Then it is very good to focus on Joda.time APIs, because the old time API more than correct result, it gives the wrong result. Okay. And it was very important for us to change the time API. Okay. So always get connected with the core Java, that is called core library, that is like Java Lang and Java Util. Okay. And depends if you are writing a lot of multi-threading application, you are writing a lot of concurrent application. Okay, you should be always connected with the concurrent package. You should connect with the streams, parallel streams, Lambda APIs. These are the new things came. Okay, and I know that Java 8, people are saying that the adaptability of Java 8 is very good, and we are clapping in our company. But the fact that we know is that people are still not started using it. Okay, so they have moved their application on Java 8, but hardly
not using features.
There are few people go to the streams code. Okay.
Yes, exactly.
Yes. So these are your probably we cannot do anything, and the once if people will start seeing the features which are there, and I can talk Java 9, and I can actually show by a very small code that how it is reducing the heap space and how it is increasing the more thread safety in your code. You will feel excited, but when it comes to the application level, probably you will tell, okay, let me finish the task which my manager has given to me. Okay, so it happens, and in the agile development today, actually, this is happening too much, right? Because people are doing deliverables and build release every week, or even some companies are doing on a daily basis also. Okay, so stay focused. The first thing what you told is the correct thing. Okay, that either I contribute or not contribute, I will learn, and try to learn those things which are which holds good across anything.
Exactly.
Okay, like we were talking about the garbage compiler, and we were talking about the optimizations that JIT compiler do. JIT compiler, the codes that are written is very much same code what the Linux do at the level of optimization. So Linux or the garbage GCC compilers, right? GCC compilers also, I don't know, any one of you know the details of the GCC compiler. But if you will go by your normal GCC compiler, it runs on an optimization level of 3. Okay, so it has an optimization level from 1 to 5, and it selects the minimum, the middle optimization level. And it is the same thing. It is the same algorithm which do the optimization there, and it will do the optimizations in Java. So algorithmically, you should always be strong. Okay, and then you connect with the problem. Okay, so you are developing your application. You know exactly what problems are there. Okay, if Java is not providing me solution, who else is providing me solution? Like you told, Apache Commons, right? So there are a lot of areas like collections and all where Java actually not doing so good. Apache Commons went and they have written the things like flat map and lot of things. Okay, so again, these things can be contributed in JDK also, but you have time for that. And if you have time for that, we can come up with a group and we can definitely deliver this. And not that only I will tell that JUG Hyderabad should do that. Okay, we can say that JUG India will do it. Okay, the JUG Hyderabad combined with JUG Bangalore or anyone else who want to combine, we can adopt a JSR, and we will tell that we as a JUG groups we can deliver this JSR. Okay, which can be a problem for us because that is a demand of your application and you are completely frustrated with that and you want Java to have that feature. Okay, maybe you will not get that feature in Java, but I can assure you that your son or your daughter will definitely get it. Okay. So you know the development goes slow, right? So today if we will start writing the feature in maybe next 8 to 9 years. Okay. Till that time we will be in the retirement age.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Is that answers your question? I think I am little deviated from your question, but like if you can tell me your application, okay, again it is specific to your application, but if you know your application and we can have a lot of technical details, okay, we can have a lot of technical discussions, okay, we do a so our Java group in Bangalore is actually a big group. Even on off season we can see probably 80 to 100 people attending the Java Tech Talks, and we do discuss about a lot of things in detail. And a lot of people comes with their application and their problem. And if you can tell me your application in the mail or somewhere, I can tell you that these are the areas where you should read and it will help you writing your application much better.
Okay, great.
Thank you, Vaibhav. I think we don't have any more questions. Thank you for speaking to JUG Hyderabad. And let me assure you, the first thing everyone is going to do here is go home and build JDK today. So we are all, really excited about contributing to the JDK, and we'll discuss about what all future sessions we can have, subject to your availability. But we all love you here.
Exactly.
Right. Yes. Done. Okay. Thanks a lot.
We are expecting few more sessions from you, like in the JIT garbage collection.
Yes. I will send you the list of the sessions that we have in the JUG Bangalore. Okay. And whatever you like by name or by content or by whatever, we can discuss that. Sure.
Sure. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Vaibhav. Signing off. Bye-bye.
Okay. Thank you. Thanks for your time, guys.
Yeah.